Playing heads up against the DeepStack AI today, guys. Best of 5. I am the 6th pro to play against it. I guess it's 3-2 so far. So if we have some of the researchers from the University of Alberta AI team on the line with us here. So if you have any questions for them, just ask them in chat. They can answer all of your questions. They've briefed me a little bit on how it works and everything, so I can answer some of your questions as well, but they're the experts. So we'll just wait for a few people to filter in here, and then we're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Some ground rules. I have as much time as I want every hand. The AI is not adjusting based on what I do. Everything it's doing is predetermined, so it's not adjusting to everything I'm doing. We do have to change the title, yes. Oh, there it is. We got it. All right, so it's an exciting opportunity here. It's sort of a major milestone in AI research. You know, the ability to beat human players and no limit hold'em. Obviously, the Libratus thing was a pretty big deal a few months ago. I'm sure a lot of you guys saw that. This is a little bit different. It's going to be freeze out mode, so I don't have to play 200 big blinds deep the whole time, which I think is definitely towards my benefit. My strategy is going to sort of be to not do anything too crazy early and then try to just get the blinds to go up. And, you know, once the blinds are much bigger, I will have much less of a disadvantage. Basically, the AI is going to have an edge on me with every stack size, but the edge it has decreases as the stack sizes go down. So, you know, if I had to play 200 big blinds deep against it the whole time, I would be in a lot of trouble. But luckily, I do not have to do that. The way it works is we're going to play 10 hands at each blind level. So it's not timed, it's just based on number of hands, which makes sense because there's no timers or anything. It is best of 5, yes. We're going to play all 5 matches right now, right, Hard? Yeah, Mike won 3 matches to 1. I just watched his replay, so I gleaned some insights from him. I played a bunch of practice matches today. I feel like I held my own. Obviously, I'm sure I ran above average. One interesting one I actually won on the very first hand. The AI stacked off for 200 big blinds. I had, I think it was 7-8. Or no, it was 8-9. It was 8-9. I limped the button with 8-9. He 3x. I called. It comes a Jack 10-7 with a flush draw, and he bet 3-bet called with Jack 8 against my flop nuts. He just had top pair with a nut blocker and a gut shot. So I was kind of surprised to see him stack off that light. But I mean, on such a draw heavy board, I could see that being GTO, assuming I'm playing the same way he is. Against like an actual human, that doesn't seem correct, but you know, the AI learns by playing against itself, not by actual humans. So it is going to do some funky stuff in a few spots. Another thing I noticed is it was bluffing me quite a bit in a lot of spots, which is to be expected. But I've started hero calling a little bit wider against it. I played a lot of practice matches, Paul, so I think I'll do okay, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm definitely not, I don't have an advantage. I'm definitely at a disadvantage. The only question is how big of a disadvantage we're going to have. So we'll see, guys. We'll see. I'm going to try to play nice and slow so we can get a lot of people in here watching. We'll be starting in about 1 or 2 minutes here. Let a few more people filter into the chat before we get started. So if you guys have any questions for the University of Alberta guys, they are on the line with me here. Thanks, Healthy Liver. And the same structure as Timex, so I get 500 for each match that I win. So I do have an incentive to try and win this thing. I'm not going to be following the Dutch Boyd strategy of just going all in every hand at the beginning. I think the better strategy is to wait for the blinds to go up. Like I was saying, I'm going to try just not to get my ass kicked too hard at the 200 and big blinds deep part of the game. And, you know, once we get down to like 20, 30 big blinds, a lot more variance. So increasing the variance is definitely to my benefit because obviously I can't really hope to outplay this thing. It is pretty advanced. It is definitely a tough opponent. And I am not a heads-up deep stack expert, as you guys may or may not be aware. I've played quite a bit of heads-up short stacks, but not so much with deep stacks. What's up, Lawn21? Thanks, man. So I guess we can just get started and just let people filter in. I'll kind of play a little bit on the slower side, and we can sort of talk about the hands as they're going down. So here we go, match number 1. All right. So hopefully you guys can see everything. Here's the interface. I have as much time as I want to make each decision. The AI does not pick up on any timing tells. So if I can, take 3 minutes to make a decision if I want to. We're going to start off by raising with the ace-2 suited here. I do have to play 10 hands at each blind level. So like I said, my main goal here is to just not get my ass kicked too hard at any blind level, and hopefully we can survive until the deeper blind levels. I've been trying to pick up on some of the things the AI itself does. I'm not sure if I think I'm going to check here, actually. I don't know. It tends to pot this type of spot a lot in position. I don't know if this is the hand you want to do it with. Maybe you do. We have runners. We have backdoor nut flush draw. He's going to just fold a decent amount. And we get check raised. 4x pot. We're obviously folding to this. Let's see what he did this with. Wouldn't surprise me if he was bluffing. He does this pretty aggressively. King 6. So open-ended. That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, playing against this has been pretty illuminating, I must say. Just kind of because I get to see every hand after each hand, so it's definitely sort of helped me figure out what to do as far as constructing my own ranges at this stack depth. Another thing the AI does is it only bets half pot or full pot on the flop and turn, and then on the river it can also add in a 2x pot bet. So those are the bet sizes it chooses post flop. Pre-flop, I've seen it 3x and min raise. I don't believe it can do anything else, although you guys can correct me on that if I am wrong. I'm allowed to size however I want. So we bet pretty big on the turn. I think we're going to go for a decent amount of value here on the river. All right, so he called the turn with ace-5 and folded the river. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I'm kind of glad you guys aren't making a public service because I think this would destroy the games. But guys, if you want to unmute and answer any questions that way, feel free to just chime in whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have the 3 of us here ready to answer questions.
All right, so
as far as making a public service, we've thought about it a little bit, and we might in a few months we might open it up for people to play against. We haven't quite decided on that yet.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I gotta say it's a fantastic learning tool. So, I'm sure that would be very useful for people. So he folded bottom pair to me there. I had flush draw and a gut shot. He's limping here. We're going to raise, I think. Not sure how I'm supposed to size this type of spot. 4.5 seems reasonable enough. I have seen him limp like a decent amount of garbage hands like this. So I'm going to have a limp range and a raise range on the button. I'm not sure which range this hand's supposed to be in. Like I said, I've actually learned a decent amount just watching what the AI does, and I'm trying to sort of mimic what it does in some of these spots, because I'm far from an expert at 200 big blinds. Okay, 3x's will fold this one, no problem. This hand seems not great. He does attack limps like reasonably wide. I still think getting 3-1, it's worth trying to see flops, even with hands like this. Checking doesn't seem great. This is a different AI than Libratus, yes. So he folded Jack 4, that's fine. So we're roughly even with it after the first few hands. If I checked the ace-2 suited, we'd be up slightly. 5-6 off it had there. That seems reasonable enough. Might limp this one. Not sure what I'm supposed to do with this. Notice that it plays suited hands fairly aggressively pre. Like a lot of its 3-bet range pre-flop is just like random medium strength suited connector type hands, which I think makes sense. in position with a suited hand. I think we're supposed to see a flop. We'll see what he shows up with here. Ace queen. All right. Well, that's a good hand, but we had decent equity against it pre-flop. So limp, we will check this one. Got the middle pair. I have noticed that it has a leading range in some spots, which is kind of interesting. We're going to check call again. Reasonably strong middle pair here. We'll check a third time. We'll see what he does. Pot. Okay. So we block a club. I have seen it bluff quite often in spots like this. I don't know if I'm supposed to call it this combo. We also block queen jack. He had two pair, kings and threes. That seems reasonable enough. Yeah, like I said, I've seen it bluff a ton in a lot of different spots, so I think bluff catching with that hand is reasonable, but I'm not positive, of course. Like I said, I'm far from an expert at deep stack. No limit heads up. But once we get shorter stacks, I think I'll be able to hold my own. Although I'm still going to be losing some amount of big blinds per 100 against the AI here. So he limps. I think we check. Top two. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. Interesting. I did not realize that Libratus required a supercomputer, and this just uses a single GPU. All right, so we check raise. He had nothing. We win there. Gonna walk him here with 2-4. 10-8 suited now. He limps. I think raising here is at least reasonable. I mean, I know I've seen the AI raise hands like this in this type of spot reasonably often. I am trying to play a somewhat lower variant style against it until the blinds get bigger. Because like I said, I do expect to be losing money at the deeper stack levels. I think they were saying that the AI beat a group of pros for something like 47 big blinds per 100 at 200 big blinds deep a couple months back. He owned me there. He got me good. All right, so Jack 10 suited, we're going to raise here, 3x. Okay, top pair. So can you guys briefly explain how the AI calculates pot sizes that aren't half pot and full pot? Because I was a little iffy on that point myself, and I thought it might be interesting to talk to the chat about that.
Sure. Sorry, what do you mean? Like,
Well, because you were saying that the AI only does, like, it learned by playing against itself, right? And it only can bet half pot, full pot, and 2x pot on the river, but I can size anything I want. And you were saying that it's actually not possible to exploit it by using weird bet sizes?
Yeah, yeah. All of the earlier bots, like all of the ones from us, Claudico from last year, even Libratus on the pre-flop and flop, they all had a strategy that was like trained ahead of time, and it was specific to the bet sizes that were put in. So yeah, like if the bot would only make half pot and pot, then it would also only understand those bet sizes coming from you. And there was a whole ton of like really easy exploits you could do against that.
Right.
Like if you would min bet, then it would have to pretend that it was actually a half pot bet, and then it doesn't know the pot size, it doesn't know pot odds, it doesn't know the bet being faced. Like, and it was just pretty weak against a pretty trivial attack. So DeepStack is different. DeepStack should be immune to this style of attack. So yeah, like you mentioned, it only makes the half pot, pot, and 2 on the river, but it should be able to respond to any bet size. The way it's able to do that is that, unlike all the earlier ones, it doesn't come to the match with a pre-baked strategy to tell it what to do. Instead, every time it's its turn, it resolves either to the end of the round or to the end of the game, depending on where it is in the game. And because it does that resolving, it can always start its computation like knowing exactly what the pot size is, exactly what the bet faced is. So every time, like if you make a weird bet size, it's fine. It's just going to figure out a strategy, for that spot using the exact information it can see.
Right. Yeah, so that's like a pretty major advancement over the previous bots then.
Yeah, it definitely plugs the easiest to exploit hole, which you didn't even have to like be good at poker to really exploit that. Like,
right.
There were even some bots. We have this annual computer poker competition where all these different universities have bots that compete against each other. And a couple years back, there was a bot entered into that didn't even look at its own hole cards and just made bet sizes, like to attack betting abstraction. And that style of attack has done pretty well in the past.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't think that would be an option, but I guess that makes sense against some of the less advanced spots.
Yeah. So yeah, just plugging that one gap is really what makes DeepStack a lot stronger than all of our earlier bots.
So I think I'm going to check the turn here. I mean, that's what I would do against a human. I'm not sure if that's optimal. 9 of spades comes in on the river. He half pots, so we beat like a 3 that's turning into a bluff. We don't really beat much else. I think I'm folding. That is interesting. So is he value betting worst jack there? I guess. I mean, that must be a value bet, right? There's no way that's a bluff. So, I would not expect to see that hand in his range. I figured he would check that. But that's another interesting thing that you see the bot do is because it's playing true GTO, so it actually like in ranges in spots where humans wouldn't do anything like that. It's using a lot more value bets that people wouldn't actually do, stuff like that. So that was an interesting spot. I thought we'd see some bluffs. I did not expect to see a value bet with worse. Queen 7-4. So TWT is asking, how is Libratus successful if it had a leak in regards to bet sizing? Libratus also plugged that leak, right?
It kind of half plugged it. So on the turn in the river, it plugged it using almost exactly the same approach that we did. Our two teams came up independently with the same trick. The difference is that we also do that on the pre-flop and flop. And we use a neural net to kind of estimate the value of hands if you get to the end of a round. That's what we use the GPU for. Libratus didn't go that route. Instead, for the pre-flop and flop, they had a pre-trained strategy to explain how to play those first couple of rounds. That strategy had a ton of bet sizes in it. So it still had it was still vulnerable to that style of bet sizing attack, but it tried to plug it just by having lots of bet sizes, so it couldn't be too confused as to the pot size.
Interesting. And then after a couple days, they scaled it down to just like one bet size pre, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think that was like day 6 of their match. They made a change overnight to switch out the pre-flop strategy. And exactly, so that the bot only made one bet size. And I think in response, it might have anticipated more bet sizes from the humans. So, yeah, trying to give up its own options in order to better plug that attack.
And Paul's asking how I'd rate my heads-up game on a scale of 1 to 10. This deep, probably not very good. Not very good. Shallower, definitely better. But yeah, this deep, I am fairly uncertain as to how to proceed with a lot of hands this deep. I don't know if we can value bet this here on the turn. I don't know. Like I've seen him make some pretty loose call downs, and we can have a decent number of draws here. I think I'm gonna bet turn check river. Next raising pre-flop is a standard open. Wow. King 10, so we had a higher 10. He had a higher 10. I'm not the biggest tournament winner from dominating heads up. Actually, never nervous. My track record heads up in tournaments is actually not that great over the course of the years. Recently I've done better. Like I said, I've studied a lot of like 30 big blinds and under recently, so I'm pretty confident at that stack size. But you know, in tournaments, it just doesn't come up that often, especially this deep. It essentially never comes up this deep. So we flop a 9 here. Seems like we should be able to value bet this, right? He called with king high. Okay. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we have. I mean, I guess the bot would have a decent number of floats and it's turning into bluster. I don't know if I actually would, but GTO would. I would definitely not beat Doug heads up. I would be interested in watching Doug play this thing at this deep. Doug did not play against Libratus, right? It was some of the other guys that work with him on like upswing, but it wasn't actually Doug. King 6, I believe we are supposed to call. With the 9 on the flop? Yeah, I was wondering that, because I think it's shallower stacks PIO says to raise that as well, but I didn't know how to play it with deeper stacks. So would you just don't have a calling range on ace 9 then, Ryhard? Because that's I suspected that might be the case, but like I said, I'm not used to playing this deep. We're gonna go for value here. Ace 10, he folded the turn. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, pre-flop. Well, the bot limps pre. So GTO must contain some number of limps. Seems good enough to see a flop with top pair. Could I raise this? Okay, so he had 2 overs. I don't really mind protecting our hand to some degree there. I mean, the board is low enough that there's a lot of turns that are going to make things a bit awkward for me. So he min raises here. That's one thing I've noticed. He min raises any 3x's and he also limps. He does use blockers quite a bit, TWT, from what I've seen anyway. I played 6 practice matches against it before this. I actually won 4 of them. So I'm probably just running good, but like I said, my strategy is to pretty much just try not to lose too much during the first few levels because I know it has a giant edge over me with the deeper stacks, but I think at the shallower stacks, it still has an edge, of course, just not as big of one. So he's potting the turn here. It'll be interesting to see what he shows up with. Oh, he had a deuce. Okay. So value. Seven two. He folds. Yeah, no worries, man. It's easy for me to read the chat because I'm just one tabling. You know, I'm used to playing infinite tables. So we're getting 3 to 1 here. Our hand is really bad, but I guess we're supposed to see a flop. I don't know. Any of you guys who are heads up specialists, feel free to correct me on any of this. I appreciate your level of confidence. Never nervous. I wish I was as confident in myself as you seem to be. But I don't know, man. Even watching Mike play this thing, it's not easy. This thing is a tough opponent. So I think we're gonna bet here. 4 table versus the bot. He folds. That works. Does it fold to 3 bets? Asked Annie Catherine. Some percent of the time. I tried a lot of different stuff in the practice matches. All right, we'll take that. Hanging in there, hanging in there. Hey, M. Russell, the phase 109 actually resumes in like 2.5 weeks. It's not for a while. I will be 3-betting some amount of garbage, but mostly like suited garbage, Annie. I don't think 3-betting offsuit garbage is a terribly effective strategy. Yeah, it doesn't resume for a while, M. Russell, so it's going to be a little bit before stakings pays that out, I think. He had 7s, we win. Yeah, this is a fat spot for sure. Yeah, that's one thing that's really cool about it. Is it only most I've ever seen it take is like maybe 10 seconds. I think they were saying it takes longer pre and less time on the river, which seems a bit counterintuitive to me, but I guess it's going through all the different game trees, so that makes some amount of sense. Okay, we flop ace high with a gutter ball. Not really sure about this. He had an 8. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know. Maybe I should just fold the turn. I mean, I guess he could be value betting pretty much all the pairs here. And if he does have draws, it's kind of hard for me to call twice. But I don't know. Our hand seemed like a decent showdown hand. And we also had a gut shot. We are raising king 2 suited now. He 3-bets. This is his first 3-bet of the match. I have seen him 3-bet with quite a bit of middling strength stuff. I don't think this is strong enough to call. I'm not sure though. Like I said, I'm far from an expert. Oh, maybe it is strong enough. We could 4-bet. That's not out of the question. Like I said, he does 3-bet a decent amount of middling strength stuff, but I also saw him call a reasonable amount of 4-bets when I was watching Mike's replay. So I mean, I guess this is a decent hand to 4-bet with. I kind of like 4-betting more than calling, but it does go a little bit against my strategy of trying to just play small ball until we get deeper. Yeah, I'm not folding. I'm trying to decide between calling and 4-betting. It's nice that I have as much time to think about it as I want. I don't really need to worry about timing tells, of course. Damos asks, can anyone play against this bot? It is only open to a few pros at this moment. So second pair. He checks. I believe we will check. I don't know. I was looking at the sizing behind 4-betting. If I 4-bet, I'm making it what, like 4,800? So then I'm putting in 42 to win a pot of like 24. I don't think the math works out great on that with no antes or anything. Now, should I be protecting on the turn here? I don't think it's going to check raise me. They have a limit bot you can play against. So he had 9s, okay. Okay, so 4-betting would not have ended up well for me, I don't think. This worked out, but obviously I got lucky to hit a pair on the flop. And he was strong pre, so it turns out I probably should have just folded. Careful, the bot might. Yeah, that's one thing that's really cool about this is that I get to play on no delay, which is rare. So he limps. I don't know if I'm supposed to raise with this hand this deep. We're gonna check raise now. Oh, I know his 3-bet range is like has way more hands than just that pre-flop. So I'm not saying that 4-bet was necessarily a bad decision versus his range. I'm just saying in that particular spot it would have got me obliterated. I think we're gonna 3-bet the turn here. I've seen him raise turn in this type of spot quite often, so I don't think it's just straights. King 4, so he had bottom pair. Interesting turn raise by him. Pretty interesting. Yeah, notice that he raised the turn to 1200 over my 500 bet, so I think 3-betting the turn is fine there. Again, playing the practice matches definitely helped in terms of ranging him. I think if I went into this blind, I would be at a much bigger disadvantage. As it is, I managed to hold even in the first 30 hands. I mean, I probably ran pretty good to do so. We're going to fold this one. This hand is garbage. He's going to be raising the turn with like a lot of pair plus draw type hands that he might call with. So I think if we just call the turn, we're letting him see a river for free. And he's usually going to have some amount of equity. Also, I don't know, he plays kind of loose against like flop and turn 3-bets from what I saw in my practice matches. Not that time, of course, but his hand was pretty bad there. All right, so he limps. We're going to raise this one. He folds. SK Blatt asks, how's the AI versus early stage all in? That might be a question you guys can answer. I know Dutch Boyd had a strategy of just shoving a bunch in the early stages against the AI. So I'm not sure exactly how it calculates its all in range versus like a 200 big blind shove on the first hand.
Yeah, that was Dutch's strategy. Was with all of his not good hands for the first 30 hands, he would go all in. And with the good hands, he'd actually try to play them. How does it respond? Yeah, so it's trying to respond in a GTO way, right? And so it should have a range that's unexploitable if you try to go all in. If you're always jamming like that, then you're leaving a lot of value on the table. I mean, the thing we saw in the match against Dutch where he was doing that was, yep, like the bot would fold a ton and then it would call and like when it actually had it. So yeah, just really high variance style.
So this is how I've seen the bot itself approach hands like this. I'm not sure. Oh, let me permit you guys. Sorry about that. Nightbot killed your link. Try again. It should work. It's interesting. We could bet again on the turn. We try to fold out a 10 or a 7. I don't think it's going to fold the hands that also contain a draw, though. It's definitely not folding a queen. And like I said, this kind of goes against my strategy of keeping the variance a little bit on the lower side until we get deeper. I mean, watching the bot play, I know it would two-barrel this spot sometimes. So I don't know, betting like close to pot again seems like a somewhat valid strategy. But again, I'm not trying to inflate the variance too much. There it is. All right. Interesting run out. We could try to bluff the river. He pots. Let's see what he shows up with. 7-6. So yeah, potting the turn would have been great. And he turned his hand into a bluff on the river, which definitely makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that would have been a good spot for me to two-barrel the turn, so I think I missed an opportunity there. Should have gone with the first instinct, which was to two-barrel the turn. But yeah, good spot for him to turn his hand into a bluff. Bottom pair with a gutter ball. Trying to decide between calling and raising here. I kind of think we want to raise. He folds with a gut shot and overcard. That's reasonable, I guess. Back up to 17,850. So we're, again, holding our own. Like I said, our goal is to kind of go into the late stages as close to even as possible. Not really trying to get one over on the bot at the deep stages. We raise, he calls. We have flopped this. Again, we have some backdoor potential. He leads pot. Okay, he leads pot. Are we supposed to float here? We block some of his bluffs, like his draws, but we also have the backdoor nut flush draw. We have a pretty good ace high. I think we are supposed to float here. Pick up the nut flush draw on the turn. He checks. So now do we start betting or do we check? Yeah, I'll mod him. That's a good idea. You have been modded. We pick up a gut shot and we have the nut flush draw. How often is he like check jamming the turn if I bet? We can either see a free card here. We can try to put pressure on his pair plus draw type hands, or like his second pair or third pair type hands. Not sure which route is best here. Again, it's nice that I get as much time to think about these as I want. A human player would, you'd have to worry about timing tells and all that. If I bet chunks here and he shoves on me, I'm gonna feel really bad. But river and ace, that seems good. He checks. We are gonna bet. How much are we gonna bet? A little over half? More maybe? Go for 2/3. He had king 5, so he led the flop with just like some backdoors. On the turn, he had a bad gut shot. So interesting. Interesting pot lead on the flop by him. Certainly not something you would expect a human to do very often, but. All right, he 3x's here. We'll fold queen 4. Yeah, the deuce 7 suited. I've noticed that it plays the suited hands pretty aggressively pre, like almost regardless of how bad they are. Queen 3, I guess this is worth raising. I'm going to be walking him with some number of hands out of the button. I think having a queen makes this good enough. He folds 10-5, sure. Hey, we're up slightly. How about that? How about that? So the next blind increase is going to be to 200, 400. Again, I think GTO would probably want to raise this some amount of the time. 3-3-4. Will do. Never nervous. So we have a gut shot. We have ace high. I think we're gonna have this in our check call range, but I don't know if that's good or not. Not much point in betting now, surely. How much is it bluffing here? Enough, I think, but let's look him up. 3-5. Wow, he just had it all. He had it all there. Jeez, nice hand, deep stack. That makes sense though. Not really any bad rivers for him with that hand. He had trips and he had the open-ended. Our river call may have been too loose. So he min raises here. I've noticed that his min raise range, although I don't know, like I'm sure all of his ranges are balanced enough to the point where you can't really generalize. But I did see him min raising with a lot of like weaker strength hands when I was doing the practice matches. I'm probably just extrapolating from too small of a sample size. But I think we're supposed to 3-bet here. Six 5-0. All right, so the blinds are up. We have achieved our goal of going into the deeper stacks with about even. Deeper blind levels, rather, with about even stacks. So now we just got to hang in there for a couple more levels, and then we'll be down to our 25 big blind sweet spot. It's a good question from Tay. How do you account for run good / run bad when measuring how good the bot is? You have to just do an insane amount of hands to make sure it's significant. I'll let you guys take that one.
Yeah, just doing an insane amount of hands. Like, that definitely works if you're playing bot versus bot or something. But not very well if you're playing as humans. Because then either you're doing the thing like Libratus where they had to play for a month against 4 guys, or like what we did in November where we played against 33 pros, but only 3,000 hands each. We've done a lot of research on ways to subtract out variance to try to eliminate some of the luck. That works really well especially if you're playing 200 blinds deep. I think we can get it's like a factor of 10 or so. Sorry, I'm asking the guys in the room with me here. About a factor of 10. So instead of playing 30,000 hands, you could play 3,000, but then run our tool that subtracts out some of the luck and still get an accurate result. It's a little bit trickier to do for the freeze-up games, just because there's so many factors changing between every hand.
Two pair. Yeah, when they do bots against bots, they get to run just an absurd number of hands to see how the win rates work out. Also, on a related note, that Libratus challenge sounds freaking exhausting for the pros who are involved. I'm impressed with their ability to persevere there. All right, so here we raise ace-8. He calls. We flop pretty draw-heavy board. Good question from Paul. Does DeepStack play to maximize EV of each hand independently, or does it play with the... I'm doing what Mike did and referring to it as a he. It is definitely an it. Play with the meta goal of winning the match. It maximizes each hand independently, I believe. So
it's playing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's playing each hand independently. And to figure out its odds of winning the match overall, it's just using independent chip model for trying to figure out how it can reach a showdown and then win.
Yeah, so an interesting point came up that Mike raised in his stream, which is that it doesn't know how to edge pass, because he played a hand against it where it limped and he shoved like 22 bigs with ace-4 suited and it called 8-9 suited, and he was saying like that's a reasonable call because of the way he structures his shove range. It's all hands that are basically flipping with 8-9 suited. So like it's a reasonable call, but it's probably winning like a fraction of a big blind. So he was saying that like since the AI has such a big edge against him, it should pass that spot and find another spot. But since it doesn't really think that way, it's just taking the spot where it knows it has some edge, however small that edge may be. We're gonna check the river now and hope he has a 7 or a 4. Well, he had a decent number of outs there, so reasonable enough. He check called twice. We bet pretty big though. We bet pot on the flop and we bet 2/3 pot on the turn. And my plan was to check most rivers here, I think. Obviously, I'm checking on all the rivers that he hits, or it hits, rather. The 9, 10, jack, or 6. We would check all of those, so it got there. Hope I didn't waste all my good luck in the practice matches. I'm sure I ran pretty good to win 4 out of 6. So limping, we're going to check this one. I would raise with better ace-x. I think we want to check some ace-x. We flopped the nut flush draw. This seems like a good spot to just check raise and inflate the variance here. Turn an ace. Interesting. Interesting. And we river the nuts. We river the nuts. So I think we just shove and assume it's calling fairly wide here. I mean, I would assume that GTO has it calling with a reasonably high number of club hands. He had 2 pair on the flop, so we got pretty lucky there. Pretty lucky there. I kind of wish it had just got it in with me on the flop, so I could have got the river value too, but. Sick run out indeed. It's technically the 3rd nuts. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so he folds 2-3 off there. We were back to 15.5K. How about organizing Libratus versus DeepStack AI? Would that be doable?
Yeah, the two teams have talked about that a bit. We were at a conference back in February where that came up quite a bit because we'd both just announced our results. I think part of the holdup is, so Libratus plays using a massive supercomputer and takes about 30 seconds per action on the turn. Ours acts, kind of human speed, like 5-6 seconds per action, and only runs on a GPU. So I think in terms of head-to-head strength, both teams agreed that they're pretty close, although each team thought that their own bot was a little bit stronger. I think we'd probably be happy to play if they could speed theirs up and play at reasonable human speed instead of 30 seconds per action. But yeah, there's no plans for a match just yet.
Yeah, I guess it would take a really long time to get any sort of reasonable sample at 30 seconds per action. Yeah, they were saying they do have a competition each year where all these different teams bring bots and they run them against each other. That certainly sounds like it'd be very interesting to analyze. We're just going to check fold this one, I think. It had complete error, but our hand was pretty bad there. Another good thing about playing this spot is I can, it's not going to pick up on any of my tendencies. So it is going to have slightly different ranges for all the different sizes I use, but there's no, I'm not really giving away tendencies as it analyzes each hand in isolation. Yeah, it does sound frustrating, especially if you're getting your ass kicked by the bot to have it tank 30 seconds on every turn. I could see a check raise not being horrible here. I'd probably rather have 2 overs to the 4, though. So, I don't know, they hand like 5, 6 of hearts, 6, 7 of hearts. Yeah, ace, king of spades. He certainly was not folding that. All right, blinds up. So we're closer to my comfort zone here. I have just over 20 big blinds now. There we go. The bot competition is the annual computer poker competition. Oh, you can check out match logs from all the past competitions. Very interesting. I might actually do that one day. That sounds fascinating. We get check raised here. Should I have not bet? No. Can I continue? Possible I should have checked this one. King high with a gutter ball. So we're getting 3K to win. Well, like, we're getting a decent price to see a turn here, but we only have 7 outs if we're behind. Not sure how the bot's structuring its range in this spot, actually. I don't know if it even has much of a check call range. If it doesn't 3-bet all in, we could. We do have the nut blocker. Is it calling, though? It's probably calling too much, I think, to 3-bet. I think it's calling a little too much. I mean, it's not folding any hands like 6-8, 7-8. It could just have like Jack-9, in which case we're ahead, of course. If we get it in bad here, we're still going to have about 30% with 7 outs. I think we're going to fold. I don't think I can call. Let's see what it shows up with. Queen 7. Okay, so actually I had, it probably would have folded to a shove. So it looks like Ryhard nailed it. Probably would have folded this hand to a shove. Yeah, I'm almost sure it would have folded that into a shove. So should have just gone with it. Arguably, I should have checked as well instead of betting if it's check raising that hand. And then I wind up folding. That's kind of a disaster because I'm folding like almost 40% equity, which is really bad for me. So yeah, I think maybe I either should have checked. I don't think it's going to call the shove. I mean, I think it would fold with that hand. Pretty sure it would fold. Can we bluff here? Well, it's going to have reasonably balanced ranges for all of its ranges, Jaime. So it's going to have a check raise fold range, a check raise call range. It's not like check raise calling its whole range or anything. You know, it's playing GTO, so it's going to have some pretty balanced ranges. Can we bluff? King high. We could maybe fold out ace high. Maybe fold out like a 9. I don't think he has a jack very often, or a queen. It might just be good. I'm not folding out a 6. I doubt we're good. Probably would have bluffed somewhere. No, we are good. Okay, cool. We raise king 7. I don't think the queen 7's a bluff per se. It's a protection raise, right? Like he probably has the best hand often, but he can't check call because there's just so many bad turns. 3-bet by ace queen, fold. King 3 of clubs here. I think we are permitted to just jam. I mean, they're going to jam or limp. I don't think I want to raise fold. We're going to limp. Yeah, if the king 9 suited, I wish I should have jammed on the flop. That was the right move. As he's folding, and if he calls, I have 40-something%. Of course, that's being somewhat results-oriented. Obviously, his range as a whole is possibly balanced enough to the point where I don't want to be shoving there. But again, I do have to gamble at some point. Like, I'm not going to win by outplaying this thing. I'm going to have to gamble at some point. So that seems like as good a spot as any to gamble. I think that's one thing I have to do, is just be more willing to gamble. Nah, it's check raising pretty wide in that type of spot, man. So I think shoving is actually quite reasonable. I'm not being too results oriented. I'm definitely being somewhat results oriented. Hopefully our 3 is good. It is. Ooh, got there. Got there. Sweet. Am I limping too weak here? Maybe. Let's see what he's shoving with. King 6. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We're going to shove King 6 ourselves now. Obviously, I'm being somewhat results oriented, but like I said, I did play a lot of practice matches against this bot. So, ooh, we got there. Hey, how about that, guys? How about that? Very minor point, but they do the runouts very fast when you go all in, so you don't get to sweat it. But obviously, that's not really the goal here. But you know, it does take a little bit of the sweat equity away. But hey, we got there. He limp trapped with ace jack, so definitely a reasonable play on his part. I think ace jack is a perfectly reasonable limp there. He's got to have some strong limps at this stack depth for sure. He leads with gutter ball. That is interesting. Hey man, I gotta get lucky to beat this thing. Yeah, that'll be the next innovation, is the dramatic pauses. All right, blinds up next hand again to 4-8. Now, when you're playing 20 big blinds, GTO does have you limping ace jack some percent of the time. I think we're just gonna call. This might be a little bit loose, but we gotta gamble. We got there again. Sweet. All right. We got there again. How lucky. So I take the first match on the back of 2 lucky hands, both of which I was a 40-60 underdog. King 6 was over a limp though, Jaime. King 6 was over a limp. So when I min raise, his range over for shoving over a min raise is different than his range for shoving over a limp would be. But like I said, you know, we do have to gamble. We do have to gamble. Ross O'Malley says if this becomes used online, could be disastrous. Indeed, that is definitely an issue. They're not trying to sell it for, you know, commercial purposes or anything. It's purely for research purposes. But at some point, someone will likely develop a version of this that could be used for online. There's already bots out there that exist in heads-up games. They're not as good as this one, but it is definitely something that has to be thought about. It's a very real danger for the future of online poker. Luckily, I think that the computations for 3-handed and bigger games are orders of magnitude more complex. So we don't have to worry about that anytime soon. Although I heard on Mike's stream, they were saying maybe within like 3 years they'd be able to solve. Can you guys chime in on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like we talked about on Mike's stream, there's kind of 2 problems for going to multi-way. The first is, like you mentioned, just the game is enormously huge. Just in terms of the number of spots, like it's just enormously big. So computationally, it's going to be a lot more work to do it. There's also a big theoretical problem. Like if you're playing a heads-up game, GTO just tells you what to do, and if you can play GTO well, then you're guaranteed to not lose. You can guarantee that the worst you can do on average is tie. But that's not true in multiplayer. Like in multiplayer, GTO still exists, but it doesn't have that guarantee of not doing any worse than tying. So there's a big theoretical challenge too. I think in spite of that, I think we might only be a couple years away from having like a good competent multi-way bot, like maybe even 6 max. And that's the next direction we're going to try to go.
Yeah, see that's the thing. Like even if you can't get to GTO, just competent is good enough to really make the games a hell of a lot tougher online. So it's kind of interesting to think about how much of a lifespan online poker even has from this point, because obviously the technology for this is just going to keep getting better and better until eventually it's feasible to run this in an undetectable fashion on like a an average PC. So I don't know how long we have until that happens, but it's definitely something to worry about. All right, so I'm going to fire off a brag tweet about how I luckboxed the bot to win the first match, and then we'll start the second match, hoping to get a few more people in here by the end. I don't know. I always have less viewers than I do streams other than just grinding tournaments, but I saw Mike. I think Mike peaked at like 350, so hopefully we can get that by the end of the hopefully third match if I can win in 3, but I kind of doubt it. We'll see. I'll have to keep getting really lucky. All right. Second match is beginning. Back to the 200 big blinds. See how we do. So I can just sort of learn as we go. Like I said, 200 big blinds is definitely my weakest format as far as heads up goes. We're probably gonna make a video out of this. TWT. We'll at least get the highlights. So it's really interesting on like an intellectual level for sure. I think people sort of enjoy the sweats of MTTs more because there's actual money being thrown around, and there's so much more at stake. But I certainly think this is fascinating. Like I'm definitely gonna learn a lot more today than I would learn playing MTTs on any given day. This is not blah blah is asking, is this the bot from the people that beat heads up? I think you're talking about Libratus. That's a different bot. This bot has played against other pros. It's 3-2, I believe. It defeated Dutch Boyd. It lost to Taylor von Kriegenberg and Mike, and I forget who the other 2 matches were. I think oh yeah, it's a 2+2 podcast and the Andrew Brokos podcast. Thinking Poker, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Taylor von Kriegenberg beat this bot 4-0, so that's a pretty high bar to clear. Mike beat it 3-1. Okay, I think we're gonna 4-bet. I mean, we have kings, and we don't really mind playing huge pots with kings early. Probably hard to find a better spot than this. So how big do we make it is the question. I think about 3x. I mean, we're 200 big blinds deep, so I'm assuming we want to go on the slightly bigger side. But I don't know how to size bets at this depth. King 10. Too big, I guess. I made him fold a hand that was like dead against me pre. Hey, what's up, Ming, with the sub? Let me turn my Twitch alerts on so we can see those subs properly. That's a Ming with the resub, I should say. Thanks, man. Yeah, we're playing a lot. I don't know if heads up 200 deep is your specialty, but I know that cash is your specialty, so you'd probably be better at this than me. So feel free to chime in if you have any recommendations on what I'm doing wrong at this stack depth, because I'm sure I'm doing plenty of things wrong. But I'm gonna walk him with 10-4 off there. 9-5 suited here. We will see a flop. We are gonna check fold. Yeah, too big confirmed. I don't know, man. I mean, I see him folding King 10 off to most 4-bet sizings, I think. But if he has like suited connectors, ace X suited, like ace jack offsuit, those type of hands, I think he is calling the bigger sizing. But I didn't play that many 4-bet pots against it in my practice matches. I didn't really approach to practice matches from the perspective of like trying a bunch of different things to see what it would do. I sort of just tried to like win them all. I probably should have been a little bit more experimental because they were, no downside. But I have run pretty good against this bot so far. I'll say that. Half pot. I guess I'll look him up. Right, cool. Yeah, he does bluff quite a bit in a lot of spots, so I think that's a fairly standard-ish call. King high on ace 2-4. What do we do here? What do we do here? Am I supposed to bet for protection? I mean, I probably have the best hand. Checking seems like it's just gonna make the board run out real awkward a lot of the time. So I think I am gonna bet. I don't know if this is right though. I mean, if he continues against my bet, I'm kind of in bad shape. I could bet smaller. I'm not really trying to fold out anything with equity. Well, the bot learned by playing against itself, Jaime, so it doesn't actually account for any human tendencies, as far as I'm aware. The only input it had was just like the rules of the game, so it wants to win as much as possible. And so the inputs were the rules of the game, and I forget what I was going to say there.
The only other thing we input was just the bets that it uses.
That's like what I was
half pot and 2-pot. That's it.
Right. Yeah. So the rules of the game and the bet sizes, and then everything else it learned from playing against itself and just figuring out which strategies made the most money. Ace Jack. Okay. Yeah, Rufus is saying that he beat the heads up bot by overbet bluffing the river. That is we were talking about that a little bit earlier, Rufus. That's a common exploit that worked on earlier bots, but this bot is actually immune to like weird bet sizings. It's capable of recalculating the entire hand based on the sizing you actually use, rather than being forced to approximate it with one of the sizings that it's used to. Three bet. We're gonna fold king 5. See, this is the type of hand that it seems to three bet quite a bit. And when I watch streams of like good heads up cash players playing deep, they also three bet hands like this quite a bit. So I think that's like a fairly standard practice. Just I don't know, worth noting. It does seem to three bet like 7-9 suited, Jack 8 suited type hands fairly often. I don't know why that took so long to come through, man. You subbed like 5 minutes ago, but thanks again, man. All right, so blinds are up. Again, our strategy is just to try to like not lose too much until we get deeper. Worked out pretty well in the first match. Although I was like almost a 3-1 dog, and then I won a couple of all-ins. But that's going to be the strategy, is to just try to go deep and just win some all-ins. I think we're going to check here. Spade on the turn. Hey, what's up, Mark? We were playing against a AI today. We do indeed have the FF7 fanfare as our sub sound, yes. Although I'm supposed to change it at some point. Is there value here? I would suspect there is not. Maybe though. I mean, it does like to hero call. So you can call me with a 4, maybe. You can call me with an 8, maybe. I think I'm gonna check, but I could see there being some value here. What's up, Snake Eyes? Let's see. Ooh, he had the ace 8. So I wouldn't expect him to have that, obviously, because the only reason he called the turn is because he had the ace of spades in his hand. He probably does call the river. I'm not positive that he does. I would assume he would call the river. LOL GME asks if the AI knows all the concepts of poker, value, range, EV. It's basically just learned to play against itself and just knows how to maximize the equity of various strategies, basically. So it just plays against itself until it finds the strategies that are making the most money. So I mean, I don't know if it thinks about like value and ranges and those terms or whatever, but it is like balancing its ranges in sort of a GTO fashion. 3xing the button with the ace queen suited, destroying the bots. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I got lucky the first match, quite lucky the first match. Hopefully we can get lucky 2 more times. All right, so we flopped the nut flush draw. I think we're in a pot. Yeah, one of the more interesting hands I saw it play against me in the practice match, I said this already, but I don't know if all of you guys are here for it, is I flopped the nuts with 8-9, 7-10 jack. It was a raised pot pre-flop. He leads in 7-10 jack with a flush draw. He leads into me. I raise. He 3-bets and I shove, and he calls off with jack 8. So I was kind of surprised to see that one. I did not expect to see that. I mean, I guess that could make sense in like a GTO fashion, but I think against like real humans that line does not really make a whole lot of sense. But again, it doesn't learn by playing against real humans. And we're up slightly in the early levels. That is the goal, is to just be up slightly going into the deeper levels. Yeah, it's not learning against me, lol, but it learns playing against itself. So like, it's not actually taking into account anything that I do right now. Yes, Jaime's right. All right, so we went with king high. I don't know about trillions, but it does play. It plays against itself heads up many times. Doesn't seem like a good flop for us, does it? He leads. We're just gonna fold. Yeah, we were ahead, but you know, not a great spot for us. We were ahead though. We were ahead. Walks me with the 2-9 off. Fair enough. Fair enough. Blinds up. We're into hand number 21, so 100, 200 blind level. No worries, guys. Ask all the questions you want. DeepStack AI is here to answer your questions. This is for research purposes, so they're not trying to be secretive or anything. They're very open about the methods used and the way the bot works and everything. So they're here for you. We're gonna check fold this. I'm actually gonna run to the bathroom real fast. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. That's another good thing about this this bot, is I don't have to worry about timing out or anything. So we'll be right back. All right, guys. Sorry about that. We are back. It'd be nice if I could throw eggs at the bot, but we'll yeah, we can make some suggestions for these guys. You know, the next version of this should have egg throwing and longer sweats for the all-ins. sure they're taking notes. All right, we're gonna raise Jack 5 here. This is a little bit weak. I think raising is fine. Sure. Again, we're hanging about even the first 30 hands, so I'm very happy with that result. If we can just be even going into the 300, 600 level or so, I'm going to be pretty excited about that. That is very interesting. Talking about the way the bot learns. Huh. All right, we're going to fold this, I think. Ooh, just aces, just aces. Dodging bullets. I guess we could have tried to crack them, but probably not the best bet. We'll walk in here with 8 deuce. Queen jack suited. I think we're supposed to 3-bet here, right? Hey, I made him fold the best hand. How about that? Yeah, again, I have seen the min raise range be a little bit on the weaker side. It's not like complete garbage, but the min raise range from DeepStack seems to fold to 3-bets more than the 3x range. I don't know. It might just be small sample size talking. I mean, I really am not sure. So we're gonna bet big here. We have the backdoor nut flush draw. We can multi-barrel a few turns. I made a mistake with this type of spot earlier where I bet big on the flop, and then I didn't follow up with a turn barrel. I let DeepStack see a river too cheaply. So I don't know. I think this seems like a pretty good spot to bet twice and try to fold out an 8 or a 3. We don't really have any equity. So I kind of have to expect him to be overfolding to make this profitable, but we'll see. Okay, so, I mean, I had the best hand, but I wasn't going to win the pot if it went to the river very often. Is it learning throughout the match then? Well, it's not learning about what I'm doing, but I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Right, so we flop ace high and a gut shot. Check, check. We're going to check call the turn. He had a 3, sure. Fair enough, fair enough. I got a little viewer spike. Did I get a host while I was in the bathroom or something? There's a natural viewer spike. You're welcome, guys. We're doing something a little bit different today. We were playing heads up against an AI. No MTTs today. We'll be back as normal tomorrow playing MTTs. Does this program also rabbit hunt the final card? I do not believe that it does, Snake Eyes. Does the bot see my cards after the hand is over? It's not learning from what I'm doing. Call if you dare. I see. That makes sense. Invest. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if you came here from the front page, welcome, guys. We are normally playing high stakes online tournaments on this stream, or mid to high stakes online tournaments, but today we're playing heads up against the AI. There we go. Okay, that makes sense. Deep stack. So I won the first match. I got pretty lucky to win the first match. I won all in pre twice with the worst of it. This match we're doing a little better. We have a bit of a lead. Again, my strategy is to try to just stay as close to even as possible during the early levels. The bot has a very big edge on me the deeper the stacks are. Here's the 2x pot river. Belly Flop asked, do I think this is good practice or do I play different from what I normally would? Well, I don't usually play heads up this deep, but I actually do think it's a very, very useful educational tool to see what like what GTO looks like in heads up with these stack sizes, because I am very far from an expert. We're not playing for real money. We're just playing against an AI. I have an incentive to win each match, but this just to freeze out with play money chips. I do get paid for each match that I win, so I am sort of playing for real money, but we're not playing with 22,000 on the table or anything like that. He did have a 10. Yeah, so the only street where it can bet more than the pot is the river. It's weird, my monitor turned off. Back on though. Yes, the only street where it can bet more than the pot is the river. Every other street it has the option of betting pot or half pot. And then on the river it can also bet 2x pot. So we saw a 2x pot there. So we win the pot there. That's fine. Queen 8 now. We're going to raise. Three bet by the bot. We're going to fold this one. Seems reasonable enough. Certainly seems reasonable enough. He walks me with trash. That's fine. Yeah, so if you guys are new to the stream, we're going to be back tomorrow playing our usual schedule, which is online tournaments. So we have an open-ended here, or more, yeah, we have basically an open-ended. So an 8 gives us the actual nuts. A 3 is pretty good. Gives us the second nuts. So I think we're going to keep betting, put pressure on his one pair hands. Ace 5, yes, perfect. So we got him to fold the best hand. Up to 25,000. Running good here, guys. We're running good. I hope so, Poker Bras. I hope so. I'm still going to have to win some all-ins pre or something. I have stacked at post-flop a couple times in the practice matches. I was able to play a lot of practice matches before playing the real ones, so they were kind enough to let me play practice matches, which was very useful. I think if I'd gone in blind, I would have been a much bigger underdog than I am. I'm still an underdog, but hopefully not as much of one as I could be. Raising ace 3 here on the button. Sorry, my second monitor keeps turning off. I'm going to see if I plug it in or something. Wow, he just shoves. That's a big shove. That is a big shove, DeepStack. Jeez, 40 big blinds all in. Obviously, we're folding this hand. Kykowitz asks, what is the upside of creating a heads-up no-limit bot? Well, it's basically for research purposes. The process used is applicable for a lot of real-life problems. As you guys are probably aware, AI is one of the great frontiers of the 21st century. There's a lot of applications it can have once it reaches the, an adequate level of computational power. So this is just sort of a research project. They've had AIs that have solved Go recently. I don't know if it actually solved Go. I was doing some research on that, and it was very interesting though. They had an AI, try to play Go, and I guess it came up with a strategy that was just dramatically different from the strategy that the best human players were using over the years, and it was just crushing everybody. So he had 5s. Seems reasonable enough. But yeah, no limit hold'em is one of the It's one of the tougher ones to solve with AI. Do you guys know if chess is more complex than no limit hold'em? I actually don't know that one off the top of my head.
Kind of tough to answer, because they're such different games, right? Like
Right.
chess is what we call perfect information game. So you look at the board, you solve the pieces. That's all there is to know. Um, Poker is a lot more difficult, because of hidden information and randomness. In terms of the number of decision points in the game, like that's one way that you can compare games that are different. Um, so I think checkers has about 10 to the 20. Checkers has been solved. Uh, Heads up limit hold'em had 10 to the 14. Chess I think is about 10 to the 40 decision points, so a lot bigger than heads up limit. So chess is nowhere near solved. Go is definitely not solved either. For both of those, like the programs are now stronger than than the best human players. I think pretty decisively in both games now too, but nowhere close to being solved.
Okay.
Heads up no limit. The way we're playing it here at the start, where it was 200 blinds deep, has 10 to the 160 decision points. So way bigger than chess, and about the same as Go. The 10 to the 160 is, okay, so it's a huge number. A lot of those decisions aren't different in a really significant way. Like if the pot's 100 chips versus 101 chips, those are two different decision points, but you're going to play them pretty similar. So the 10 to the 160 is probably bigger than it has to be.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So I was wrong about Go. I guess the milestone was just that it was beating the best human players rather than that it was actually solved. I'm not super familiar with Go, but that makes sense. So he checked down 8-3. I kind of expected him to bluff with that. I wasn't super optimistic about winning on the river with Queen High. I don't think I want to bluff with Queen High. I mean, maybe I do. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised he didn't bluff with that. I'm guessing it uses some sort of mixed strategy with hands like this because it can have a ton of bluffs on the river here. Like once it gets checked all the way down, there's just like an unlimited, not unlimited, but there's a very vast number of bluffs it can choose from on the river. So I'm guessing it just mixes, and it just like decided not to that time. Well, Rufus, it starts 200 big blinds deep, and then it rapidly gets shorter. We only play 10 hands at each blind level. I think raising's better than calling there. I'm not positive, though. Yeah, 10 to the 160 decision points is just insane, right? But that, like he was saying, that takes into account all the different bet sizes and stuff, so it's actually not quite that many. There's a big gap between just playing better than the best human players and actually solving the game. Is that the technical term, Kykelids? I'm actually not sure. All right, so we're running over the bot. We're running over the bot, running good. Now, computers have not solved chess. They have simply become better than the best human players by a decisive margin. We've come a long way from Kasparov playing against Deep Blue or whatever.
I can comment quickly on the distinction there.
Sure.
Yeah, so solving the game means computing like a Nash equilibrium, which is what poker players call GTO, right? Which means you've come up with a strategy. In a two-player game, it means you've come up with a strategy that can do no worse than lose on average, even if your opponent knows what you're doing. So you could actually just tell your opponent, like, here's my complete strategy, and even if they know that, the best they can hope to do is tie against you on average. So for heads up limit, we've now done that. Heads up limit is extremely close to solved, and we can actually prove exactly how close we are, like how much a worst case opponent can beat us for. We did that in 2015, but in 2008, that's when our first heads up limit bots first started beating the best human pros. So in 2008, we played against Matt Rolenko and a team that he picked, and beat them by a small margin. But the bot that we used to beat the world's best humans at the time was still beatable for like 12 big blinds per 100. Sorry, 12 big bets per 100.
Right.
So massively exploitable. The same kind of thing is true in checkers. So in checkers, I think the first human pro got beat like 95, I think, mid 90s, and it was 2007 before checkers was solved. And that's where it is in chess. So in chess and in Go, the world's best human pros have been beaten now, but the game is nowhere near solved.
Right.
Like there could still be an even better program that beats the world's best program now.
How many big bets per 100 are you losing in at limit right now with the bot versus the worst case opponent?
Yeah, right now it's a little bit less than a big blind per 1,000.
Per 1,000? Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So very
that's
close.
small enough that even if someone was using the perfect counter strategy to beat it, like that perfect counter strategy that wins that big blind per 1,000, actually just playing enough hands to prove that it was better, it would take something like 70 million hands to play to have statistical confidence of being ahead at the end of 70 million hands. And so we're calling that essentially solved.
Yeah, close
like
enough,
if you're,
I think.
and if you play 1,000,000 hands a year, you could spend your entire lifetime and still not be able to prove it.
For an easy example of a solved game, you can look at tic-tac-toe, Jaime. It's just like, anyone can figure out how to solve tic-tac-toe, right? Like if you have two people who are like even remotely competent, every game just ends in a tie. So like you can tell your opponent exactly what your strategy is, and the best they can do is tie. So like if you when you move to more complex games, then solving looks like that, except it's obviously exponentially more complex for any sort of real game. TWT asks what your estimate is for Heads Up No Limit being solved.
I think that one actually might be never.
Never.
Yeah. The game is so enormously big that, okay, so it's going to be really tough to solve, but it's also going to be really tough just to prove if you have solved it. In Heads Up Limit, with 10 to the 14 decisions, it takes us about 76 CPU days to compute a perfect counter strategy. So that means you either run one computer for 76 days, or you run 76 computers all at the same time, and it takes you about 1 day. And we first were able to do that in around 2011. And that's kind of what you need to do to be able to prove that the game is solved. Like you have to be able to compute that perfect counter strategy and prove, that you're not losing to it. But Heads Up No Limit is just so enormously big that I don't even know how to do that step, how to compute the perfect counter strategy in any sort of reasonable time.
Right. At the current rate of like technological improvement, do you think it'll be feasible? I mean, at some point, surely the computing power will catch up.
I don't even know if it will. Like the 10 to the 160 is just,
I guess
so
that's just
huge.
an enormous number, right? It's kind of hard to even wrap your mind around how big of a number that is.
Exactly. Yeah, like there's something like 10 to the 80 atoms in the universe.
Right.
So yeah, it's just incredibly huge. So yeah, like I won't be surprised if like the best bots are decisively better than the world's best pros. Like it could be now between Libratus and this,
Right.
Or maybe it'll take a couple years to really kind of nail it home. The bots are definitely going to keep on getting better.
Right.
And we might even have something that's really close to optimal, like kind of like Cepheus is extremely close to optimal. I can imagine that happening for No Limit before we're able to prove it.
Right.
And we might only realize a long time afterwards that it was actually that close.
Yeah, that makes sense. Rufus brought up a good point, which is that if you had Rake with the limit bot, both players lose money. That's absolutely true, and that's sort of why this is an ominous development for the future of online poker in its current form. Obviously, if these bots became, even if they're not going to be perfect, if they become better than the best humans and they become feasible to run on like a personal scale, then online poker is in a huge amount of trouble because nobody's going to be able to beat the Rake if everyone's just running bots against each other, right? So, yeah, that's definitely something that we have to worry about as far as these becoming feasible enough to run on like personal computers on websites. I don't know how it'll work out for live poker. I'm guessing the live poker will still be able to survive in some form, but yeah, the Rake is not going to be feasible in its current form for the long term if this sort of technology proliferates. Kikewood asks how, or blah blah is asking. Somebody asked when chess will be solved. Okay, Jaime asked when will chess ever be solved. I assume the answer to that one is yes.
I think so. Yeah, like it's still 10 to the 40, so it's really big, but yeah, that one at least I can imagine being solved like within our lifetimes.
So he pots a flop. We call with queen 4 here. I don't really like this spot. Man, this is a tough spot. Am I supposed to call twice? So it's just such a like high variance spot because like if he bets again on the river, I'm just pretty much guessing. But it does seem like I should be ahead of the turn range. But there's a whole other street out of position to worry about. I see a fold. It's definitely a great opportunity to discuss all these things with the research team. So again, guys, we appreciate you giving us this opportunity today. Great learning experience for all of us.
Well, thanks for having us on your stream. This has been really fun.
So what do I do here? What do I do? I feel like I'm going to fold. He's just going to show me some nonsense. I think I'll call. Okay, so the 9 shouldn't change much. Ace 3. Okay, we were ahead. Sweet. We were ahead on the turn. So I guess he was value betting the flop and the turn, which is kind of interesting. That's not really what I would expect. I thought he would have more like semi-bluffs. But again, it's learning from playing against itself, so the GTO solution easily could be to value bet the turn there. It's also sort of a semi-bluff from him because he does have the gut shot and the 5-outer if he's behind. So we have a pretty big lead now. But yeah, river bet would have been real awkward there, so I'm not actually sure if my turn call is correct. Ooh, fold the best hand. Fold the best hand. I believe the guys from the DeepStack team actually do not play poker. Merely research it.
Yeah, our team is about 10 people big right now. I think of the 10 of us, 2 of us play poker maybe a little bit more seriously than recreationally, but definitely not professionally. And the other 8 of us don't play at all. Our team has been around since like 95, I think. So running for a long time. And usually the people on our team that do play poker, we have had one guy go on to become a pro, and most of the other poker players go on to work for Poker Stars or Full Tilt.
Right. Were you guys studying other games before No Limit?
The university that we're at does a lot of work on tons of different games. Okay. So like we have groups here that have worked on chess and checkers and Go, but also StarCraft and Counter-Strike and video game stuff.
Oh, interesting. So there's actually AIs for StarCraft and Counter-Strike?
Yeah, StarCraft has a huge AI community, probably even bigger than poker.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
And that's kind of building up. I think that one's probably 3 or 4 years off. But
to being solved.
I think that's not for being solved, but I think there are a lot of teams working seriously towards working up to challenging the world's best human pros.
Okay, right.
At StarCraft. Right now, the last time I looked into it, like they have this annual StarCraft bot competition where all the bots play against each other.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple years back, they had kind of not a top pro, but like a StarCraft pro, like someone that plays professionally, like in Korea, play against the winner of the bot competition, and I'm pretty sure that player beat up the bot pretty well. So I think that one's a ways off, but tons of people working on it.
Nice. StarCraft 2 is the most recent installment. I haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I think a lot of the AI stuff is still using Brood War, like from StarCraft 1.
Okay.
But
because I'm guessing with newer games it becomes more complex.
Yeah, there's tons of learning curve just to get started. Like just being able to play the game at all before you can get any traction. Yeah. The other one that's getting a lot of attention is not like competitions against humans, but it's programs that play Atari games and like old classic video games.
Sure.
And the challenge there is a little bit different. The idea there for the Atari work is to have a program where like maybe you train it on 10 different Atari games, so like River Raid and Pitfall and Pac-Man and stuff.
Right.
But then you actually test it on all the Atari games ever made, like without any game-specific programming. So the bot has to learn to play entirely on its own. Like the programmer doesn't get to do anything to help it along. And that one's been a really great challenge for AI for the last 5 years.
That sounds interesting. Yeah, so I guess it makes sense that they're attacking it from just a ton of different angles, trying to learn as much as they can. So how long have you guys been working on poker in particular?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, the team was in around 95.
And that's how long it's just been on No Limit Hold'em? Or you started with Limit?
Started with Limit. Actually, I think we started with even 6-player Limit, and then we went to Heads Up just to try to make the problem a little bit easier. And then I've been expanding back out since then.
Okay.
I've been working on poker since about 2006. So yeah, I spent my master's and my PhD degrees working on it. Some of the other guys in the room here, like Nolan is in the room with me as well. He also does PhD at the same time, also since 2006. Dustin since...
So I've been with the group since 2010 doing summer projects, but I started my master's in 2013, and that's when I seriously did research in poker.
Okay, so you guys have been around the game for a while then.
Yeah, a lot of us, probably at least 5-6 years. And spending, like a whole master's or PhD degree on it.
I wonder if you just jumped into like a heads up match, how you would do, since you've studied it so much and like you've looked at all the different ways the bots play all these different spots.
Absolutely terrible.
You think so?
Like I would love to say otherwise, but it actually is really bad. So I did for my master's. I worked on Heads Up Limit, and so I finished my master's in 2007. And in 2007, we played a match against Phil Locke and Ali Islami. And we just barely lost to those guys. But that was the first time our bot was like almost professional caliber. So a couple months after that, I finished my master's and I went and applied for a job at Full Tilt.
Right.
And, before I went for the interview, I went and played some Play Money poker, and that was like my first 100 hands of poker ever. And yeah, even after having done all the work to program a bot that could play it really well, I had problems at the Play Money tables.
Interesting.
So yeah, it really is like a totally different skill set. It doesn't help at all. And actually, I think it might not help either direction. So doing the programming definitely doesn't help for playing. I'm actually not really sure that playing would help a whole lot for the programming either. Like, you might catch bugs faster, but I don't think it would actually help make the bot a whole lot stronger.
Well, that part makes sense, I think, because that's a very different skill set. I was just assuming that if you spent time looking at all the ways the bot approached different spots and like the bot hand history, sort of, that you'd kind of pick up a lot of it that way. But I suppose you're more focused on the programming end of things.
Yeah, maybe other people have, but at least for myself, not at all.
What's up, P-Sams? Good to see you. Good luck. When's the Pro Tour, P-Sams? Next week? We're talking to the AI researchers today. Maybe they'll solve magic at some point. I kind of doubt that one though. All right, we're gonna be limping the button with Jack 8. Sorry, P-Sams, you can be an honorary sub. Call If You Dare asks, would a HUD give any advantage against the bot? I know you need a lot of hands, but it selects one decision from any available. I imagine it's less predictable than a human. I think a HUD would help you learn how it's like balancing in some of these spots, but I don't know if, I assume it would be better than not having one. So you could just see like sort of how it approaches each spot, but you're not going to have like an edge per se. Healthy Liver asks, how about PLO? Is it tougher than NLH? I assume it's much, much tougher. Has anyone even tried to do an AI for PLO?
Yep. PLO bots are out there for sure. I think actually Heads Up, I don't think there's any game that there's not a good bot for. Like, whether it's draw or anything.
Interesting. Because I would assume PLO would just be like exponentially more difficult to to do because of the 4 cards, but maybe I'm thinking about it the wrong way. Can I bet here? I don't know. What is he gonna call me with if I bet? I mean, boats got there, the flush got there. He's not gonna call it that. Maybe I should value bet though. I mean, he might call me more often than I think he would. Yeah, I assume people who have bots that do trading tend to keep that sort of thing close to the vest. Half passions question. We are going to be all in with the deuces. He wins a flip. So calls it a7, wins a flip. That is fair enough. Fair enough. Couldn't keep my run good going forever, I suppose. Blinds are going to be up next hand to 800 big blind. We're folding queen 2. I think that's okay. He calls ace high flop. I think we're going to c-bet. If the bot doesn't jam pre, it's going to have less ace x than I am. Well, might be bluffing here, but I can't really do much with king high. I had a 6, okay. Check raising a 6 for protection mostly, I assume. That's something you probably wouldn't see a human do often there, but it makes sense. The 6 is going to be ahead pretty often against my c-bet range there, but it's just not going to make it to the river and still be comfortable that often. So we flop an open-ended here. I think we're going to check raise. If we get jammed on, we do have to fold. We don't have enough equity to call a jam. We win with the worst hand, but we'll walk them with the 7-3 there. Aces, okay. Come on, deep stack. Shove it in there. Okay, that's a limp. We're going to raise. Okay, we got a call. We're going to bet the flop fairly big. It's a pretty draw heavy board. And we're going to shove the turns for the most part. Don't expect deep stack to fold any pairs. All right, well, we have aces. Hopefully we're ahead. We win. All right. 2-0.
Cool, congrats.
Thanks. Ran really good in the first match. This match I actually felt like I although I mean, you know, that you're running good regardless if you're winning pretty much. Even if you don't like stuck out on it free. You're still running good to win just because of the nature of the beast here, but I definitely felt like we held our own in this match. So yeah, pretty happy about that one. Yeah, I sort of when you guys contacted me about this, I sort of expected to just get obliterated by this thing after seeing the Libratus. But I think the fact that the blinds go up is a major point in my favor. Like if we were playing 200 big blinds deep the whole time, I would feel pretty helpless here. But since the blinds get a lot bigger as the match goes on, I think that gives me much more of a chance. Anyway, let's restart. Just gonna fire off my quick brag tweet here while I'm still ahead, and then we'll get back in there. Raising 300 here with a suited 7-5. Sorry about the dogs there, guys. So we'll bet the flop. The bot does not know timing tells. Damos is asking about timing tells. No, it doesn't consider any of that stuff. So I can take as long as I want. Any hand I can act as quick as I want. Doesn't matter. It actually doesn't consider any of my tendencies. It only learns against itself. It doesn't really learn from anything that I'm doing. It's a best of 5 PSAMs. Best of 5 match. Hey, what's up, Durb? We're up 2-0, man. We were up 2-0. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised. I got very lucky in the first match. The second match, we had a lead that just sort of steadily grew the whole time, and then lost a flip, and then stacked the bot with aces on the last hand. I guess I'll just fold. I kind of want to check. I don't think I should check call. I don't really have any backdoors or anything. I guess I'll just fold. But it seems like I'm folding the best hand pretty often here. Yeah, I was about to check raise. We crushing so far, PSAM, so far. Not a great flop for us. Like, we're ahead pretty often, but I don't think I want to bet here. Again, my strategy in the early levels is to kind of just play as low variance as possible. I assume I'm going to be getting crushed for like a lot of big blinds per 100 in the early levels, so I'm trying to just not play huge pots if I can avoid it. And once we get to the later levels, I'm just going to try to run good. Ace high. Chop. That's certainly a fine outcome. I may ask, how many years away are we from strong AI or general AI? That's an interesting question. I'm not sure if you guys can give a good answer to that one, but I'll let you try.
Yeah, I don't think there is a good answer for that one at all. And certainly just in the research community, there's tons of disagreement about, if it's possible at all or how many years away.
Or if it's even
think
desirable,
most
right?
researchers I talk to think it's definitely possible, and probably within our lifetimes. But yeah, we'll see. There's just too much we don't even know about how humans think or how consciousness works at all, even for us. That's tough to imagine how long it's going to be until we can do it for a computer.
All right, he folds ace high. I wonder if I size my turn bet too big there. I bet 3/4. I mean, it's a very draw heavy board, so I figured 3/4 was a decent sizing to use, but it's possible that I could have maybe got value out of him. Get a walk there. Yeah, I think AI is one of the most fascinating fields of study for the 21st century, and just the implications on so many levels are really interesting. We're gonna fold this to a 3-bet. And we could be ahead. He could have some just like suited mid type stuff, but this hand just does not play well in 3-bet pots. 10-9 off. So I mean, again, we were definitely ahead. As far as playability goes, I would take his hand over mine, but I had position, so I don't know. Maybe I'm folding too much to 3-bets, but King 7 is pretty tough to play like a big pot post flop with. Like, we're just gonna flop a bad pair and just be in like really awkward spots against him post. I would have called with a suited king. But I've noticed that his 3-bet range does contain a good deal of I've seen 10-9 off in there a few times. I've seen a lot of like 7-9 suited, Jack 8 suited type stuff. Hopefully we can sweep the bot, man. That's the plan. We're gonna try. Taylor von Kriegenberg beat it 4-0, so that's the high point. Mike beat it 3-1. I would gladly accept a replication of Mike's result, but I'm pretty happy to have just won 2 matches already. I think that's, like I said, when I went in, I was not very optimistic about my chances. I could bluff. I think he's going to be calling here quite often on this board, though. This is one of our weaker draws. I think I'm just going to try to see showdown. That's a good point Reihard makes, that a bot might not ever succeed in an MPT environment because there's too many factors at play. As far as like balancing the imperative to keep your tournament life intact versus maximizing your EV on each hand. That's true. The thing is, bots only have to do it better than humans do, and humans are pretty bad at that too. But I hope that you're right, and I hope that MTTs remain a viable form for a long time, because that's my preferred form. So I would like it if bots don't take that over for a while. Yeah, it kind of goes back to the hand against Mike where the bot limp called all in with 8-9 suited for like 22 bigs. That's a spot where it's probably plus .1 big blinds or something to call versus folding. But in an MTT, doing stuff like that would be pretty disastrous, I think. So you'd have to somehow program the bot to like measure ICM. I'm not sure how that would work. I'm supposed to look them up with this. Again, I have the most trouble with these deep stack levels. I do not know. Maybe I'm supposed to call the turn with this. I mean, it seems like a pretty draw heavy board. He could easily be value betting a 9. I guess I'll look him up. I'm not super optimistic. Okay, queen. Yeah. Should have just folded the turn, maybe? I honestly do not know. The half pot size seems like it's a little bit more linear. But I'm not, I can't claim to know like how it's constructing its ranges. Thanks, Turk. Appreciate that, man. You can't hate on someone's grammar and then misspell a word, Kykos. Come on, man. He folded the best hand there. Folded 8-5 and he had 6-7. Okay, so we flopped a pair. I think we'll bet like 2/3. We kind of want to protect this hand a decent amount. Maybe 450 is good. 60%. He calls. King on the turn. Right, humans are much more like generally intelligent, whereas robots are better at specific tasks for now. That goes back to the question about general AI, I guess. There's many implications, philosophical and practical, surrounding general AI. Pot. So we're beating spades, losing to a 9, losing to random King X floats. How wide is the bot floating the flop? Nice. Okay, pretty wide. Pretty wide. Yeah, holy blah blah. Thanks, man. We usually play tournaments on here. Usually we play tournaments. This is a one-off. Playing against AI today. But yeah, as you can see, the bot is bluffing quite a lot in a lot of these spots, and that makes sense as a bluff. I mean, I think the float makes sense as well. So I think I'm kind of surprised the bot didn't choose to check raise there, but obviously, the bot's probably gonna know more than me. But yeah, holy blah blah. We usually play tournaments on here, online, mid to high stakes tournaments. Our next normal stream will be tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And then Saturday, I'm playing a live tournament. I'm playing the WPT Deep Stacks event here in Amsterdam. Laughing at Ryhard's comment there. That was a pretty funny day, wasn't it, Ryhard? I've never seen anyone so angry as that guy. Ace high, good. He did not bluff with deuces. I guess expecting to get called too often, or I guess the checking is just going to win half the pot often enough to make it so you don't have to bluff with deuces there. So that seems reasonable. reasonable enough. Yeah, I may also go. I may start the stream a bit later tomorrow. There's a satellite over at the casino that I might play. I'm thinking about playing a satellite to the main event over at Holland Casino, but we're planning on streaming normally tomorrow night. So if you guys are new to the stream, follow me on Twitter for updates on when our stream times are. We also have a YouTube channel. This the highlights from this will be going up on the YouTube channel as well. So !YouTube to sub to the YouTube channel. A lot of these hands I think could be raises. Like I could have raised his limp here with this hand. I think we are going to raise now. No, you're good, man. That's a good way to learn poker. Holy blah blah is to watch a lot of streams. I think. So it's a much cheaper way of learning poker than trying to just jump in there. You know. You will check turn bet river. I'm not sure what the best way to maximize here is. I think that if I just blast off, he might fold a few too many hands. We could also induce some bluffs by like checking the turn, maybe. But I don't know. We're gonna bet the river now. We'll see. I don't think it's gonna fold a 7. It had an 8, so I could have probably bet all 3 streets and got called by an 8. But that, I mean, I was kind of lucky that he hit an 8 on the turn. So I'm not sure if I should have bet all 3 there. I'm pretty happy with getting a check raise and then a river bet. Turk saying, "Good luck at the live event." When was your last live event? How are your live reads? I used to play a lot of live. I got pretty good at the intangibles, like as I like to call them, of reading people, trying to keep myself unreadable. Lately, I have not played live quite so much. Been a while. My last live event was in Prague, I believe. So that was 5 months ago. But yeah, I played a lot here at the Holland Casino, so I plan on doing well in the hometown here. We're gonna call. I think I could raise. Maybe raising is better and just like accepting a high variance spot. I mean, we're doing pretty well as it is. We have position. I guess we'll just call. Raising could put pressure on like a 5, but I don't think a 10 is folding ever. So I think we were going to bet the turn. Put some pressure on a 5, maybe a 10. We might 2-barrel the river. Oh god, I got shoved on. Oh, I'm the worst. This is the one thing I didn't want to see. One thing I did not want to see. So it's 12 to win. I mean, he might have some draws in this spot too. I'm kind of tempted to call. I haven't seen the bot check jam the turn like this yet. So he led the flop, and now he's check jamming the turn. Even if he has like top 2 pair, I still have 14 outs. MTT life. I don't think that applies here, man. We do not have an edge in this spot. So we have 14 outs if we're behind, which is about 28% with 1 card to come. And then if we're ahead, we're probably way ahead. If he has something like 3-4 of hearts, 4-6 of hearts, something like that. I think we're going to gamble. So 2 pair. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yep. So we got kind of obliterated there on the turn. I don't think I can. I don't think I can bet fold the turn. That seems kind of bad. But I probably should just check back the turn. I just didn't expect to get check jammed on very often. It hasn't happened so much in the matches that I've played so far. But I sort of violated my strategy there of not trying to gamble too much. Although, I mean, to be fair, we still had a roughly 30% going into the river. But the reason for betting the turn is to put pressure on his 10x and 5x. And we still have a lot of equity if he check calls, even if he has us beat. The only problem with betting the turn is if he shoves, which obviously happened. I have not seen the bot check shove turns like very often at all, but like I was saying, it's balanced in all of its ranges in different spots. So just because I haven't seen it yet doesn't mean that it's not gonna happen. I don't think you can say that it's never ever a bluff, man. This is a bot that plays GTO, so there's the correct number of bluffs in there. There's no never ever with a bot like this. We're gonna check back versus the limp. Top pair with a 9 high flush draw. The other thing is, like, against this bot, like, I don't have an edge, so I mean, gambling even with slightly the worst of it is never that bad of an idea, I think. So how do we raise? Or do we just call? We turn the 9 high flush. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it take some pretty weird bluff lines in a lot of spots. We did block a lot of the heart draws, so I think the mistake was made by just not checking the turn. I don't think the call once I bet is a mistake. I think I should just check back the turn though. I don't think we can call this. I believe the bot defeated Dutch Boyd 4-0, but Dutch was playing like a weird strategy. He wasn't trying to play it like straight up. I don't think we can call here, can we? Ace high, yeah. See at 10-5. And the second match, Paul, I had a pretty big lead. I had a steadily growing lead the whole time. Yeah, anytime I beat this bot, I got lucky somehow, I think, is the bottom line, Demos. Yeah, I think you might be right, Schadenfreund, about checking the turn with the Queen 2 suited. Ooh, well, this seems promising. Must have just been bluffing. Maybe he has an ace. Never folding an ace, right? Folded 8-4 of clubs. Okay, so I let him hit a free. I let him see a free river. Maybe I should have bet the turn some amount. There's the jam. King 6 off. That is a pretty big jam with King 6 off. I'm kind of surprised to see that. GTO stands for Game Theory Optimal, Kepsert. Ooh, check back King Queen on the turn with no diamond. Interesting. So it's sort of a concept I was picking up from Timex's match, which was he was saying that like the cool thing about playing against the bot is that it's going to have some folds in its range, pretty much no matter how it reaches the river. It's always going to be like balanced in each spot, so you can just bluff with like your worst hands, and usually you're going to be doing okay doing that. And that was one of our worst hands. It's like some people when they check back twice, they're just not folding the river. They're just like calling their whole range on the river. But the bot is always going to have some folds in its range. We're calling here. He turned an ace. Oh, we hit 2 pair. Never mind. I'm dumb. I only saw 1 pair. All right. We're back up to 11-5. Back in it. Back in it. Our trend of getting their pre-flop continues. 3-betting bigly with ace-king here out of position. Calls. Yeah, this is not a good flop for us, as it is. Not good. Not good. Queen actually seems quite bad as well. On the flop, it could even be ahead, so like maybe betting the flop is okay, just because he's gonna have a lot of hands that are like worse than ours that won't shove. Now that we've reached this spot, we're kind of just in a lot of trouble, I think. I don't really like the way I played this hand. I guess I should have bet flop. It's just a really awkward spot out of position. Yeah, he owned me there. We could start betting on the turn. It's a cool, interesting spot. Like it is just a spot where like range wise we're kind of just screwed. But the queen turn, I mean, we do block some of his better queen X. We block ace queen. We block king queen. Ace queen might get it in pre. King queen's in there. And we could check calling the turn seems pretty rough. So I think maybe just betting the flop and then just giving up if he continues might be the best way to approach this hand. Because he's gonna have a lot of stuff like this that miss the flop and has to just fold. So like even though we're not really folding out better by betting the flop or getting called by worse, it might still just be better than checking and letting him do stuff like this against us. Okay, middle pair. Yeah, the bot owned me there. The bot has owned me in a couple hands this match. Okay, the 9 hits on the turn. He leads. I think I fold. Okay, he had it that time. Had it that time. Gut shot. I think we'll just pass on this one. It's a very bad gut shot. He had bottom pair, so we did have Yeah, the robot may have been hustling me by spotting me the first 2 matches. All right, guys. Back in there. Match number 4. Again, our strategy early is to just kind of hang in there. Wait for the blinds to go up. If we do gamble, we're going to try to gamble with some hand that has the pile of equity. So on that spot with the queen 2 suited, we had to call like 12K to win 8K or something. So we definitely did have the right price to call on the face of it. But if he has some number of semi bluffs, then it becomes correct pretty quickly. Also, in spots where we're just all in, we don't really mind taking slightly the worst of it. So I don't know. Didn't expect to get check jammed on very often on the turn. Once it did happen, I think we did have to call. So he had king 3 there. He min raise and then bet on a connected board. Another thing that's interesting here is just seeing the way the bot approaches certain situations kind of like tells you, the way you should approach certain situations. So when I see the bot do something surprising, I try to take a mental note of it and maybe implement it in my own game. So king high. Sure enough. Thank you, Poker Mush. Seems good. I suspect I'm supposed to call here, but I think I'm losing so much money post flop with this stack that I'd rather just pass on marginal hands like this. At least out of position. No, I make no pretensions of pretending to know what I'm doing in deep stack. Heads up, that is certainly not my game. We're just trying to give ourselves as good of a chance in each match as we can. That's really all we can do. Again, some of these hands that could be raises out of position, I'm just kind of taking the lower variance option because we're just trying to get through these first couple levels without losing our shirt. And hopefully that gets us, to the 30, 25 big blind levels with roughly even stacks, and from there anything can happen. Sure. Ace Jack. All right, blinds are up. 75, 150. He walks me with 7 deuce. Sure thing, buddy. Raising ace 3. Not sure what that noise is. Hopefully nothing horrible just happened. Try to check down with the bottom pair here. Hopefully he checks it down with me. Pot. Okay. I guess I'll look him up. 9. Very surprised to see a 9 not bet on the turn. I mean, he could even be value betting a 4 on the river there. So yeah, I'm not really sure how often to bluff catch against this bot here. I know that the bot does like to bluff quite often in a lot of these spots. But I've also seen it check down like 8 high sometimes, so kind of just guessing in these bluff catch spots at this stack depth. I'm surprised to see it check a 9 twice. I thought it would bet a 9 somewhere. So I'm not sure if that's just like a mixed strategy thing or if it... I doubt it always checks the 9 there. So 3-bet, we have queen 10. I think the bot is 3-betting enough like medium suited connector type stuff for us to call with this hand. Middle pair. Pick up a gutter ball. We will check back, I think. Ace, not a good river. Yeah, not a good river. So we're beating like random nonsense that missed. I'm sure that some of that's in the range, but there's plenty of like hands that beat us too because of the 3-bet pre. I'm gonna fold. Wouldn't surprise me to see a bluff here though. Turned the 9 into a bluff. Very interesting. Very interesting. Makes sense, I think. So should I be bluff catching with the queen 10? I would guess the answer is no. But interesting spot there. I have seen it turn like, you know, third pair into a bluff a decent amount of the time. And it blocks the nuts. I did have a nut blocker, yes. So did he. I don't know. Like maybe the fact that it potted might mean its range is more polar. And like maybe I should fold to half pot and call a full pot. Don't know. Dutch Boy is a Twitch streamer nowadays, Paul. He streams on the Vegas site, I believe. WSOP.com or whatever. I'm supposed to raise this hand? This hand seems not great. But again, I'm just passing. Damn it. I don't know. I'm probably supposed to raise her. I'm passing like a lot of marginal spots early, like I said. My goal is to just not get like obliterated early. What's up, MSeb? What did I fold last time? Like Jack 3 or something? Oh yeah, sure. DeepStack, go ahead and say whatever.
Okay, is this coming through clearly, or is this really crackly?
It sounds fine to me. Does it sound okay to you guys? In the chat?
Yeah, on the stream, the audio quality sounds fine. But yeah, whenever you're saying anything through our call, we get a lot of crackle. But yeah, if it's clear when I'm talking, then that's fine. We can.
Yeah, it sounds fine. Yeah, I guess you can just mute me on the call and just listen to me through the stream if that works. But then I'll be on like a slight delay. I don't know how that'll work out, but
okay, yeah, that'll be fine.
It's crackling at the start of the stream. Sounds good now. Okay. Sound is good. Seems good. All right, cool. So like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be raising this hand. This hand is pretty weak. Does the fact that it snap shoved actually mean anything? Probably not, right? It just acts quickly on rivers, I think they were saying. This is brutal. I mean, I don't think it's shoving with an ace for value. That doesn't make sense. And we have literally the lowest flush. So it seems like it's going to have boats, higher flushes, and maybe some bluffs. What bluffs would it have? Like, I guess just like the king of hearts and X. Yeah, king 9 with the king of hearts, sure. That's only 3 combos though. Yeah, I mean the thing is like I know what I would do. This is a tough spot. The thing is, I mean, it's going to have like roughly a balanced number of bluffs to go with its value hands. But what is it? I mean, I guess like all the king of hearts X hands that reach river are going to be bluffing here. Maybe not all. I don't really know how it structures its range in this spot. Yeah, I think I'm going to wind up calling. I want to see. You get to see either way, man. You get to see either way. So if I fold, you get to see it also. That's the beauty of this. Pocket sixes or bluff. That's certainly not accurate. Much wider range than that, man. Ace of clubs, queen of hearts. I think that would just call. I think the ace X hands would just call. So I mean, the bottom line is like, I do block 2 hearts. It's probably bluffing at like a roughly correct frequency. I'm willing to take somewhat high variance spots. If I fold here, I'm in kind of like really bad shape to come back. I think I'm just gonna call. Would not surprise me to be beat though. We only have to be good not that often. Yeah, 8 into like 20.3 or something. So we only have to be good like not all that often. No, higher flush. That makes sense. That makes sense. I shouldn't have clicked the next hand so fast. Now I have to just type up what happened. Yeah. I think it might be a fold, honestly. But, I mean, really, who knows? It's hard to say. I'm sure they could find the, the spot in the bot or whatever and tell me if it's a call or not. That'd be an interesting one. Bot was hustling first 2 games confirmed. It is not gaining info. We went over this already, but it basically only plays against itself. It doesn't take into factor my tendencies or my timing tells or anything like that. It only learns I play against itself. Yeah, I think it's probably a fold. The thing is, like, if I do fold, I'm a 4-1 dog. So I don't know. Wow, the limp re-raise. Interesting. I think I'm just going to fold. Like I said, my strategy is just to try to get into the later stages with, like, roughly even stacks. I'm not really trying to play these, like, really thin out of position spots early. It wouldn't surprise me if it was doing some weird bluff thing, but I'm not going to call. Yeah, 5-6 suited. The thing is, even with that hand, if I'm out of position against that hand with ace-10, I'm not even in that good a shape. Like, he has 40-something%. He has a very disguised hand. And I'm not really looking to like get into these like 200 big blind out of position wars early. So interesting spot, but Yeah, I mean, I think 2-3 hearts is probably a fold. Neural networks are going to kill us all. Again, I think I'm folding a little bit thin. At least that time he was ahead, only slightly though. We did have decent equity there. So we're just trying to get to the late stages, guys, and then we're trying to win a flip. That's the goal. We get to the late stages intact, win a flip. Don't get flush over flushed, preferably. The other thing about this is like, I don't know, when I'm like really high up in my range, I'm not super inclined to fold that much to him, just because I know it's bluffing quite a bit in all the spots. Pot, pot. Okay, so we picked up an open-ended, potted twice. That seems reasonable. Did not bet the river. Somewhat surprising. Seems like a decent river to keep betting on, but not that time, eh? Yeah, we all appreciate that DeepStack AI not releasing the code. Poker's tough enough as it is. Poker is tough enough without this software proliferating. All right, we're walking him there. 3-5 off. I've seen the bot half pot stab with a lot of like nonsense on this type of board, so I think we are going to check raise with our open ended here. The bot calls. We're going to check now. Now we'll fold. Okay, so very good hand for the bot there, actually. Very good draw. Got there on the turn. So. The software is confirmed very good. Not easy to play against. I'm far from an expert in this format anyway, so. Okay, so we flop not much, but we do have overcards. I think based on the way that I've seen the bot play these spots, I think we just want to bet very big on the flop. Put max pressure on a 7 and a 9. Try to win while we're ahead here. Ace-6, okay, so we were way ahead there. Didn't need to put so much pressure on that hand, but 3x. We certainly could defend, but again, my strategy is just not to like get in these huge out of position spots where I'm just gonna get like annihilated post flop. The edge decreases for the bot as the stacks shrink. Yeah, that does seem to be the case. One and only dominator. I hope it takes a while for this to spread to other forms beyond heads up. Heads up is the easiest for them to get after first, just because it's only 2 players, so the decision trees are a lot more limited. Once you get into 9-handed, and then once you get into like MTTs with all the ICM implications and stuff, it becomes a lot harder to program a bot for that. So I'm hoping I have some time left. Oh wow, the paper is in the cover of this month's issue. Wow. Well, congrats, guys. You are doing great things. Chop, sure. This week's issue. Yeah, I think your best bet, one and only dominators, to learn a form. If you're a heads up player, you should get the hell out of heads up as soon as you can. I don't think it's going to be around much longer in its current form. Again, folding marginal stuff out of position. Ooh, dodged a bullet there. Folding marginal stuff in position as well. Maybe folding a little too much, but I'm willing to pass up some small. I don't want to say edges, but I'm willing to pass up hands that I'm supposed to call for a small profit early in order to get to the later stages with the most chips possible. That's part of what I'm trying to do, Poker Thief. I do think that we need some sort of a Twitch boom to keep poker alive, get more people playing. Live poker is doing pretty well, I gotta say. There's still a lot of growth in the live poker markets, at least at the lower levels. The high stakes live poker market is not as good as it used to be. They used to have a lot more like 10Ks and stuff in the States back before Black Friday, but I think the like the 1K to 3K level is still booming in live poker. Unfortunately, PokerStars Live Tour is not doing quite as well as it was. We pick up a double gut shot and a bad flush draw. Sure. Yeah, I mean, Party Poker's coming out with a really cool live series, and 888's doing a lot of good stuff with the live series too. But again, they're aimed at slightly lower buy-in levels. The Stars live series are all like nosebleed, high roller nonsense, and I think the market for that is just not what it used to be. But the mid stakes is doing pretty well for live. Yes, that is very true, Jaime. If the American market was allowed to flourish, we could see a renaissance of online poker. But if this software gets too advanced before that happens, then it's just never going to happen because nobody wants to play against a bot like with Rake and everything. It's one thing for me to play against this bot for fun, just to test my wits or whatever. That's all well and good. But if I'm putting up my own money and I'm paying Rake, it becomes a lot less attractive of a proposition. So I folded the best hand there. I had 7-6. It was Queen Jack 10-6. He had Ace 5. I did fold the best hand. It just seems kind of hard to call the turn with the bottomest pair on such a board. All right, take that down. So we're still about even stacks this deep. That's pretty good. 30 hands in, we are even stacks. ACR is pretty legit, I think, but I'm not going to vouch for them or anything. From what I've heard, they're fine. Depends on what you mean by legit, though. I mean, I'm not sure they're operating within the bounds of the law or anything, but they do pay out. So again, we folded the best hand, but again, we really can't just check call a pot out of position there with the 6s. It just seems kind of ridiculous. All right, blinds up again. Cartharius asks how this works. We're playing 5 freeze out heads up matches. I won the first 2. The bot won the next 2. And this is the 5th one. So it's a best of 5. So whoever wins this one takes home the crown. Against humans, I think I bet here, but I don't think the bot is folding often enough. It's possible I'm just letting myself get kind of frozen up. Jack high, yeah. I mean, he might have even floated that. I don't know if he does with that combo, but maybe. Hey, what's up, Mel? Pot, huh? It's weird to use pot on this board, isn't it? Any advice from Timex? I watched his replay. I didn't ask him personally, but I watched his replay. And I tried to glean some insights from him. I mean, range-wise, it seems like I should call, but we have to face 2 more streets. How the hell is he structuring his range here for pot? Yeah, if we're drawing the 6 outs, we obviously don't have the right outs to draw because we're out of position and we only have 6 outs. We could just have the best hand. You can talk about hands. It's all good, man. I think we're just gonna pass on it. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what he has. Yeah, just trash. Okay. Too tight of a fold. I mean, I figured I was ahead of his range. I just didn't know what the hell I was going to do on turns or rivers. But maybe he just pots and then shuts down. This seems very strange to be doing that. But again, my strategy is to just try to get into the deeper stacks with most of my stack intact, and playing this guessing game for heaps out of position doesn't really get me to that goal. So, but it's been very instructional seeing how the bot structures its bet sizes in these spots. Oh, he bluffs. He bluffs for sure, man. He bluffs quite a bit. This bot definitely bluffs. Is not shy about bluffing. Does it make it easier to fold knowing you're going to see the bot's cards? Yeah, I'd say so. Although there's always that nagging dread that it's like, I'm going to make the wrong fold, and then the bot's going to show me. But it definitely helps quite a bit to know what the bot has. Yeah, I don't have to suffer from curiosity syndrome, Threes beat deuces. What tag would I give to the AI? I would not want to play against this thing for real money, I'll tell you that. Even though I won the first 2 matches, I got very lucky in the first match. The second match, it felt like I was pretty much cruising the whole time. The third match, I lost with a 14 out draw all in on the turn. But I bet called the turn all in, which was probably a mistake. And then the fourth match, I got flush over flushed. Jedi's asking about smoking weed and playing. I think it helps you with tilt control. I don't think it helps you with other stuff, but it affects everyone differently, so I don't know. For me, it helped with tilt control, but I don't think it helped me learn. So it was fine when it was really easy, and all I had to do was just like play a lot of tables and crush everybody. But then once the games got tougher and I had to start studying again, I think it held me back. We have the second nuts. Yeah, the bot learns by playing against itself. Mel and Reno, you're still in here, right? I'll hit you up on Twitter as soon as this is over about that thing we were discussing. I'll confirm with you right after I'm done here. We're potting the turn. We have a pretty good hand. I'd be more inclined to call pot, I think. I also wish they could throw items, but you can't have it all, man. Can't have it all. So we beat hearts. We beat. Is he turning like a 6 into a bluff? Maybe, but it seems like the full pot bet size would be bluffing more often than the half pot size. We block some of the draws with our jack. Why did I raise with 4-2? That's not the nuts. First of all, the second nuts. And the board is extremely connected, so we want to just... We're going to check raise a lot of hands on that board. Yeah, I think I fold. My jack blocks some bluffs, and his half pot size I think is a little more linear. Let's see. 2 pair. Okay, good fold. Good fold. Good fold. Whew. King high with a gutter ball. Pots. Okay, interesting. Pots a jack on the turn after checking the flop. That is interesting. So we still had 7 outs going into the river. I don't know. I probably should fold the turn. It felt like I had like some decent showdown and I had a draw of sorts, but it's kind of weak. The fact that he limped also made me think he had less ace-x. But yeah, I mean, even if we're right to call the turn, we still have to make the correct decision on the river. So it's probably just a fold on the turn with that one. We're gonna fold this to a 3-bet. Ace-7. Seems a little bit weakish to be 3-betting, but all right. Whoa, that's a small 3-bet. I haven't seen him use this sizing before. I've never seen him use this sizing. I mean, we're gonna call. I think it's pretty clear. Let's try to reach showdown, I guess. We have ace high. Check, check, pot. What the hell's going on here, man? I don't think I'm gonna call, but I'm very confused. 9. Okay. Okay. Check, check, pot. That's really interesting. And then the pre-flop 3-bet sizing was very small as well. Call center Indian dude. That would be quite the plot twist, right, Hard? Yeah, that probably wasn't a good idea. Okay, he had a pretty good hand at least. So we have ace 10. Oops. Sorry about that. What do you guys think about just jamming double pot? Probably the best hand right now. There's a decent number of hands you can call with that are like equity. Ace 9. I don't know. The board's so connected. I don't think we can just bet less than all in. Every turn is just gonna like fuck us up. We could try to check shove maybe. Maybe check shove's okay. Check shove might be fine there. All right, but the blinds are up now at least, so we are more in our comfort zone here. We are within range of being able to just win one all in against him pre-flop and get there. King Jack suited here. I think we're gonna 3-bet call. If he raises, he limps. Okay, we'll just raise call then. Middle pair. Ooh, lower jack. Should I value bet the river? He's not calling with a 7. It's hard for him to have a 9. So, I mean, we're basically targeting Queen Jack and Jack 10 if we bet the river. I think checking is probably a little better, but I don't know. We have a pair. Limp jam, maybe? Not our flop. I could have open jammed. We've been over the bet size thing. It actually can calculate the correct decision against any bet size. You can't fool it with like weird bet sizes like you could with some other earlier versions of this type of AI. Deuces. We're probably just gonna shove. I mean, with pairs, I think with this stack depth, we want to just gamble pretty much. That's fine. Ooh, aces. Okay. All in. Yeah, so I was thinking about trying to confuse it with weird bet sizes when I first, you know, was figuring out what to do here. Does he have a jack? Probably. King Queen, nice. That was a big hand, guys. That was a big hand. Sweet. So we check raise the turn. We bet the river for value, I guess, but we had aces, so we beat him. Cool hand, cool hand. So that's not quite going to get us there, but it's going to be close. We got to finish off his last 7,000, and then we'll have officially won the rubber match. But it's not a guarantee yet. We just have to win an all in or something. Bottom pair. Nope. He bet the turn with an ace? That's interesting. That is interesting right there. I'm surprised to see that. He bet the turn on a 4-club board with an ace. I'm confused as to why. Like for value, I guess? Confusing. It's not like he needs to protect against anything. There's already 4 clubs on the board. Protect against the 5th club, I guess? It just seems just iffy. Made him pull the same hand. Victory. All right, 9-7 suited. We have a gut shot. Made him fold a better hand. Sweet. Walk him with the 8-4 off there. Hopefully get a walk here. Check. Bottom pair. Bottom pair. I think we're just check folding. It's a very bad bottom pair on a very connected board. I think we're just going to check and fold. The blinds have gone up to 4-8, which is actually good for us. The bigger the blinds are, the better. I would love to just have it be like shove all in pre every hand at this point and just hopefully bank on him. He called with 4s. Nice, nice. All right, he's down to 5K. I think we're all in with Queen 7 off. That seems good enough. I think this is the deepest a match has gone. Also, have we had 800 big blind yet? I don't recall seeing 800 big blind yet. Ah, he banked a 3 on the river. God damn it. All in free, banks a 3 on the river. It'd be pretty demoralizing to have the bot come all the way back from this now, but Nice. We did it, guys. We have won for humanity. 3 matches to 2. Sweet. Sweet.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we got pretty lucky. But definitely felt, I felt in every match. But obviously, I would sure as hell would not want to play this bot with like deeper stacks for a prolonged period of time. But yeah, definitely a fun intellectual exercise there. Thanks again for the opportunity, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you for playing against us. This was great.
And I'm glad that I could contribute in some small way to what you guys are doing over there. It's really interesting stuff. Let me know if anyone in the chat has any other questions. We'll keep it open for questions for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll probably call it a night after that. We saved the human race for now, only for now. I'm sure the bots will be back in force soon enough. It's never permanent. I'm not playing the Thrill today. No, we're not playing any MTTs today. We're gonna be back tomorrow playing normal MTTs. But yeah, certainly some interesting spots we came up against there. It's really fascinating to see like what hands it turns into bluffs. One end only Dominator asks how big is the PC that runs the engine?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really exciting about DeepStack. So all of our earlier bots used massive supercomputers to train themselves how to play. Like when we solved Heads Up Limit a couple years ago, that one used 1,000 CPU years of computation. So you imagine one computer running for 1,000 years, or 1,000 computers running for a year. So we used about 4,000 for 3 months straight. DeepStack is different. When DeepStack plays the game, it only runs on a single GPU on a normal desktop computer. We've demoed it just running on a laptop, not even connected to the internet. So it's super lightweight in terms of computation. It does take some training time, before it plays its first match, just to figure out the values for hands. But then when it actually goes to play, just a single GPU, that's it.
Definitely a huge leap to be able to run it on that. Apricot.
One of the big differences too, against Libratus. So when Libratus ran, right, it tied up the Pittsburgh supercomputer using tens of thousands of dollars of computation just to be able to play. So yeah, just the scale of it is a big step forward.
General Gadsden asks if you plan on adjusting the bot strategy based off these matches. I think they're going to take some months off to update it, but I don't know if it's based on the matches.
Yeah, probably not on these matches, but we definitely do want to work in opponent modeling to have it actually adapt from hand to hand as it plays.
That would be incredibly tough.
Yeah, it's tough and it's also risky, right? Because every time you make a change like that, you take a step farther away from GTO,
right, and then
you're more exploitable as a result. But if someone has a systematic flaw, especially when we were playing against Dutch a few weeks ago, where he was going all in every single hand, being able to adapt to that is obviously going to pay off a lot in terms of EV.
Yeah, certainly. So yeah, that would definitely make it it'd be kind of a different project though, right? Because you're sort of aiming to get towards GTO, but maximum exploitability is it would be a more profitable bot to have access to, but it wouldn't actually really help you in your quest to get to GTO, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not the bot talking, no. Apricot Jello asks if I felt like the bot donked more or less or in weirder spots than most humans would. I wouldn't say donked, but it definitely showed up with some interesting hands and some interesting spots. I was never really quite sure, how to range it in a lot of spots, and I think I was basically treating it as a learning experience, and assuming that if the bot was doing something very differently than most humans would in a certain spot, then it's probably figured out the spot to a much larger degree than humans have, and so it's something we can learn from. But yeah, it was very interesting. Poker Bros asked if there's plans for a match versus Broadus. I think they were talking about that earlier. I'm not sure if they're going to be setting it up, but they were discussing it.
Yeah, it's something that our team and theirs have talked about. No match is kind of in the works just yet.
One will become self-aware. This one probably won't, but stay tuned for general AI. we did discuss that briefly earlier as well, but the TLDR on that one was we can't really know when it'll happen. Anyone else got any questions? Or did we cover? I mean, we covered a lot of stuff earlier, but I don't know if people are just showing up now. I want to make sure you guys get an opportunity to explain everything. Obviously, the VOD will be up on Twitch as well, and I'm going to make a YouTube video out of some of the highlights. So if you guys missed out, you can check that out in a week or so. Or the VOD should be up right away, but the YouTube video will probably be up in a week or so. All right, guys. Well, it looks like we don't have too many new questions, so I guess we can call it a night. Katakata is asking what language is it coded in?
Yeah, this one is written in Lua. A lot of our earlier stuff was written in C, but this one, because it used neural nets, was in Lua.
Then Rufus asks, how could a poker site thwart a bot? I think they would just have to use like detection software, because they can do that now for Hold'em resources calculator and certain other poker softwares. You can't run them simultaneously with Poker Stars, but there are ways around that, I think. Hussein Messi asks if the bot can only be used in heads up. It's just a heads up bot for now. Yeah, 6 max gets a lot more complex. They're not really anywhere near solving that yet.
Yeah, 6 max is where we're going next. But yeah, right now, just heads up.
Anyone else got any questions? Snake Eyes wants a confirmation on what the Lua. Okay, there it is.
Okay, well, if that's it, I just want to say congratulations, Bryan, again, and thanks again for playing against this. This was super fun this afternoon.
No, thanks for the opportunity. I'm very appreciative, and let me know if there's anything I can do in the future to test the next bot or help you guys with anything. I really appreciate being a part of this whole project, and good luck with the the next frontiers you're pushing towards.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, we'll keep in touch.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. I guess we'll call it a stream for the night then. And we're going to be back tomorrow streaming our usual MTT schedule. Follow me on Twitter if you're not already. And follow me on YouTube to get a highlight video of our match today, or you can just check the bot on Twitch. We'll be seeing all of you tomorrow. And thanks again to the DeepStack AI team for the opportunity here.